Everyone wants passive income, money, while you sleep, freedom, no boss. But what if I told you, most people chasing passive income will never make a single dollar? Because what they've been told isn't the full truth. In this video, I'm going to break down what passive income really is, and how to actually make it work. Let's dive into the real truth about passive income.
All right, let's talk about this. The internet is absolutely obsessed with passive income, right? But what if I told you the whole idea didn't start as some secret wealth strategy, but as a boring legal term cooked up by the IRS? Yeah, today we're going to cut through all that marketing hype and get to the real story.
You've heard this 1,000 times, haven't you? It's the ultimate dream. This idea of a magic money machine is slapped onto every YouTube ad and online course out there. It's the perfect financial fantasy. But as you're about to see, the reality is, well, it's a lot more interesting than a magic genie.
So first things first, let's draw a really clear line in the sand. You've got the dream the internet is selling, and then you have how money actually works. And spoiler alert, they are not the same thing. Not even close.
This right here, this is the core of the whole misunderstanding. The myth promises you money for nothing. The reality? Well, most so-called passive income is really just delayed profit. It's the ultimate work your butt off now, get paid later model. You pour in a massive amount of effort up front, and then you might get paid for it. Hopefully, over and over again. See, it's not passive, it's leveraged.
And these examples just nail the point home. These aren't passive income streams. A lot of the time, they're just full-blown businesses that don't have the right systems yet. Autopilot dropshipping, that usually means answering angry customer emails at 2 in the morning and dealing with supplier drama. And a rental property without a manager, that's not an asset, my friend, that's a second job.
So, how did we even get here? How did this idea get so twisted? Well, the origin story is probably the last thing you would ever expect. It didn't come from some visionary entrepreneur or a legendary investor. Nope. It came from a tax agency.
That's right. Way back in 1986, the term passive income was literally invented by the IRS, and they did it for one very specific, very boring reason: to stop wealthy people from dodging their taxes. It was a legal classification, not a lifestyle brand. But then in the 90s, marketers got a hold of it, saw the buzzword potential, and voila, the fantasy was born.
Okay, so here's how the loophole worked. A high-earning doctor or lawyer would invest in some business they weren't actually running. That business would then generate a paper loss from stuff like depreciation. Then they'd use that fake loss to wipe out their real income and slash their tax bill. So the IRS created the passive category, basically to say, nope, you can't use those passive losses to offset your active income anymore.
Okay, so if passive income is the wrong way to think about it, what's the right way? Let's totally shift our perspective here. The real goal isn't some magic, effortless money stream. The real goal is to build or buy assets that generate cold, hard cash.
You see how this question changes everything? It moves you from being a consumer, looking for some magic product to buy, to being a producer. It forces you to think like an owner, an investor. This is the whole ballgame. So what do these assets actually look like?
First up, the classic. This is one of the few truly passive forms, dividend investing. You own a piece of a solid company like Apple or Coca-Cola, and they literally send you a check every quarter just for holding their stock. Sounds perfect, right? But here's the catch.
The income you get is all about how much you put in. A 4% yield is pretty typical. So to make a decent $40,000 a year, enough to live on for some, you need $1 million portfolio. So yes, dividend income is truly passive, but it is absolutely not free. You pay for it up front with a huge pile of cash. Next is real estate. Now this can be truly passive, but only if you do it right. Anyone who manages their own properties knows the headaches: tenants who don't pay, toilets that break at 3 a.m. To make it passive, you have to build a system, and that system is called a property manager. Otherwise, you haven't bought an asset, you've bought yourself a very stressful job. Now we're getting into what you might call semi-passive income, like royalties. You create something once, a book, a song, a piece of software, and you get paid whenever it's used. Think about Mariah Carey's Christmas song. It makes millions every single year. But what people forget is she was already a global superstar with a massive marketing machine behind her. Without that kind of leverage, your amazing creation sadly won't sell itself.
This is where most people are chasing the dream today. But let's be real, this is semi-passive at best.
If you don't have an audience, your amazing product just dies in silence. A huge mistake people make is they totally underestimate the upfront grind, and they just quit way too early. And even when you succeed, most content has the shelf life of a banana. It needs constant promotion or new stuff to keep the cash coming in.
And finally, we're back to a truly passive method, but this one is mainly for the already wealthy. Instead of building a business from scratch, you invest in one that's already working. You're just providing capital for a slice of the profits. But look at those barriers to entry. You need 6 figures just to get a seat at the table. Your money's tied up for years, and you have to have the right connections to even hear about these deals.
So you see the pattern here, right? None of these cash-generating assets just magically appear out of thin air. Every single one of them requires a massive upfront payment. That's how you acquire the leverage that creates the cash flow. Financial freedom is not free. There's always a price tag.
And that price has to be paid in one of 3 currencies. These are really just different forms of leverage. You either pay with your time, you pay with your capital, or you pay by building systems. That's it. There's no fourth option. Every cash-generating asset on Earth is built with one or more of these.
This is the simple, non-negotiable formula. If you're broke, your currency is time. Thousands of hours of grinding, building, writing, creating. If you're busy, but you've got cash, you can use that capital to buy assets that other people built with their time. This is why the wealthy look like they're doing nothing. It's because they already paid the price, years ago, by buying the assets or building the systems that do all the work for them now.
Okay, this brings us to the single most important takeaway from this whole thing. Seriously, if you remember just one thing, please make it this fundamental shift in how you think about creating wealth.
Let that sink in for a second. It's not a lottery ticket. It's a firewall. It's what you build after you have an active income to protect your wealth and make sure your bills are covered. It's a tool for preserving wealth, not creating it out of thin air.
And the data backs this up completely. For the 20% of American households that even have any passive income, the median amount they get is just over $4,000 a year. That's about $350 a month. It's a nice little supplement, for sure, but it is not replacing a full-time job for the vast majority of people.
So here's the ultimate shift. It's moving from an employee mindset to a builder mindset. Stop thinking, how can I work for money? And start asking, how can I build a system, a business, a portfolio, a song that works for me? That right there is the true path to financial freedom.
So forget the fantasy of money for nothing. The real game is so much more interesting, and it's actually achievable. The only question left is, what asset are you going to start building? And how are you going to pay for it? With your time, with your capital, or by building a system?